guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ejide, and if it's your first time stopping by, you are most definitely welcome. So on today's episode, I'll be sharing with us how I made this beautiful reverse satin bonnet. This is the type of bonnet that will never fall off your head at night. So let's just get started. So right now, I'm just going to be measuring what I need for the Ankara part of my bonnet. So now the length of what I need is going to be 23 inches. Also the wideness of this Ankara that I'm using is also 23. So this is basically a square. So I'm just measuring this to show you guys that the length is 23, like I said, and also the width is also 23. So this bonnet is not going to have any elastic, right? So now the next thing I'm going to be doing is to be folding this my Ankara into 4 parts. I'm going to go ahead to fold it like this into 4 equal parts. So now the next thing I'm going to be doing is to choose the center of where I'm going to be marking. So you want to make sure the other parts that are opened is not where you're going to be marking your circle from, right? So you want to mark your circle from that part that is actually folded. So now I'm just going to go ahead to measure the radius of my circle. So I'm going to be using 11 inches. I've added my seam allowance, my sewing allowance to this 11 inches. So I'm just going to measure this round my Ankara from the center that I have picked. So I'll just chalk it around this like this. I'm going to connect the dots and I'll cut it out. So depending on how big you want your bonnet to be, you can make use of 12 or 13 inches, but I'll just be making use of 11 inches like so. So guys, I've gone ahead to cut my circle. Now I'm just going to be placing this on a bridal satin material. So I'll cut the exact circle I've cut out in my Ankara. I'm going to cut it out on this bridal satin. So when I was cutting out, I made sure I placed the right side of the Ankara facing the right side of this satin I am cutting. So guys, this is what it looks like. Now I'm just going to be using my pins to hold the edges down so they can be in place. So remember, right side facing right side when cutting the bridal satin. So now I'm just going to fold this into 2 equal parts, and I'm going to be picking one sharp edge of my circle like this, and I'm going to be measuring in 3 inches as wideness and also length of 3 inches. I'm just going to connect the curve like this. So I noticed that the mark wasn't really showing here, so I'm just going to turn this to the other side and take that same measurement. So you can take it on either side of the materials. So now I'm going to go ahead to measure 3 inches like this, and also I'll come down and measure 3 inches. So I'll just connect it and cut it out. It doesn't have to be perfect, you understand. This is just a little opening at the back. So guys, I'm done cutting. This is what it looks like. So I'm just going to use my office pins to hold that little part I've cut out in place, and I'm going to sew it like this. So guys, I'm done sewing. I'm just going to go ahead to notch this area so it can be very relaxed. And I'm also going to be removing the pins around my circle. So I am turning it to the right side. This is what it looks like. So when removing the pins, you want to make sure you remove all the pins. As you can see, I found out that that place wasn't very relaxed, and when I checked it, I saw that there was still a pin there. So after removing, you can see this is what it looks like. It's looking relaxed now. So I'll just go ahead to iron that part. So guys, I'm done ironing. The next thing is to hold a gather stitch. I'm going to sew a gather stitch around this circle. You can do it on any side of this circle. So I'm just going to use my office pins to hold them down in place, and I'll go to the machine now to run a gather stitch on it. So guys, this is what it looks like. I'm done running a gather stitch on it. So I'm just going to be gathering the thread. I'm going to be gathering it, and I'm going to be measuring it When I have 22 inches, I'm going to show you guys, because the circumference of the head I'm working with is 22 inches. So now you just want to hold one end of the thread and just gather this. You can see the shape of the cap is already forming. This is because I'm gathering the stitch. I think there's a standard for the circumference of the head. You can use either 22 inches or 23 inches. Yeah, depending on how big the hair is. So guys, I am done gathering. I'll just take a measurement of what I have gathered, and I'm going to show you guys. Just like I said, I'm going to be using 22 inches as the circumference of the head I'm working with. So as you can see, this is 22 inches. So we are right on track. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to tie the threads together at the edge, so I can lock this measurement in place. Now the next thing is to work on our strip. So I've gone ahead to cut out 72 inches in length, and also the wideness of this strip is 6.5 inches. So it is very simple. I just measured 72 inches in length and also 6.5 inches in wideness. So now I'm just going to go ahead to fold in half of an inch of this strip. I'm going to be folding both ends in, and I'm going to be ironing it. So now as you can see, I'm just going to be folding this into two and also cutting the edge diagonally. This is because I want it to have like a bow like shape whenever I tie it at the end. So now the next thing is to fold my belt into two. This is because I want to get the center of this strip, and I'm just going to mark it down like this. I'm going to be opening this up. As you can see, I'm going to open the belt up and turn it to the other side. This is the wrong side of the belt. So still taking note of that my middle point that I marked earlier, I'm going to be dividing the circumference of the head, which is 22, into 2, and this will give me 11 inches. So now from the middle I have marked, I am going to be measuring 11 inches to the left. I'm going to mark this down from the middle of the center I have marked. I'm going to measure 11 inches to the left. I'm going to be chalking this down. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. Still from that same middle, I'm going to be measuring 11 inches also to the right, and I'll be chalking this down too. So the next thing is to open up the inches I ironed down with my iron earlier. I'm just going to sew this down on the machine. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Don't forget that those 11 inches we took to the left and right, I'm going to be sewing this down from that point to the end of the strip, and I'm going to be leaving the center open. So let's just go ahead to do that. So guys, this is what it looks like. I've gone ahead to sew down both ends, leaving the center. So right now I'm just going to be turning this in. I'm going to be turning this out rather, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. So guys, this is what it looks like. I've gone ahead to iron both ends. So I'm just going to be joining the strip now to my cap. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to fold my belt into two. This is because I want to get the center of this belt. So once I get the center, I'm just going to chuck it down like so, and I'm going to open it up. So now I would also get the center of my cap. So you can do this by either taking the measurement, your head circumference, whatever you have, just measure the half of that so you can get the center of your cap, or just simply go ahead to notch the center. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to be placing my cap into the middle of this belt. I'm going to open up this belt and I'm going to make sure the cap is sitting in between these belts, and I'm going to go to my machine to sew it down. So I'll just show you guys how it should look like. You want to make sure the seam, that's the gather stitch on the cap, is not going to be showing when you finish sewing the belt to the cap. You also want to make sure the middle of the cap is sitting is sitting at the middle of the belt before you sew it. So now I'll just go ahead to use my office pins to hold down the belt and the cap together so it can make the sewing easy for me. So guys, as you can see, I am done using my pins to hold the cap down to the belt. So now I'll just go ahead to the sewing machine and I'm going to run a stitch on it like so. And I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. So now guys, we've come to the end of our tutorial. This is what it looks like. You can always style this cap in different ways, just like I said at the beginning of the video. It doesn't have an elastic, so once you tie it to the size of your head, it is not going to fall off your head when you sleep. So now guys, don't forget to like this video. Please give this video a big fat thick thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I'm going to see you all in my next video. Bye.